everybody, and welcome back to our fourth and final set of the day for the North American Smite Challenger Circuit Qualifiers. We got two great teams battling for the sixth and final spot into the NASCC. It's the FUNHAVERS up against the JAZZY JACKUARS, which we got to see a couple of sets ago. Someone you also got to see a couple of sets ago was Mifflin, who's going to be joining me here on the desk for this set.
Hey, I'm Mifflin. I'm going to be joining J-Mac here on the desk for this set.
With the JAZZY JACKUARS and the FUNHAVERS specifically. Again, fourth and final set of our now 8th day that we've been doing these SCC qualifiers. It's all started back last week, and now moving into our 4th day of this week on here in our 4th set. Leoncitos got their win over the Neighborhood and then fell to Great Gentlemen in the set prior to that, or set after that, I should say. And then JAZZY JACKUARS got their 2-0 over lead onto it. We'll now see if they can hold that up here up against the FUNHAVERS. But Mifflin, this is not going to be an easy competition for JAZZY JACKUARS to try and get a 2-0 on.
No, the FUNHAVERS are a squad that we've got plenty of data on. Sure, there's been some slight changes since they played during the SPL play-ins, but I think it's a team that can really bring the action. Wouldn't be surprised if this one goes 3, though.
And every single time I look at this bracket, it just reminds me of just how many teams were in this event. I mean, 16 for North America, 16 for EU. Again, all fighting for 6 spots each in the SCC. But going on about the FUNHAVERS, I mean, we talked about the JAZZY JACKUARS in their set a lot earlier, so let's start by kind of talking about the FUNHAVERS and that name recognition that they have. JAZZY in the solo lane, Magic Feet, who up until the SPL qualifiers in this SCC, nobody really knew who this guy was, and then Joshi, Oceans, and In My Zen to round out that duo lane.
Yeah, so you've got some SPL pedigree, you've got some SCL pedigree, some, I don't know, streaming pedigree, which is not insignificant. If you are a consistent Smite streamer, that is like the hyperbolic time chamber for your own individual mental, so gotta give some credit to Zen for being as active in the stream scene as he has been over the last couple of years. And this is a team, I think, that really does wear their heart on the sleeve. They say in interviews, they've said when we get to watch them anytime, we play for fun. If it's going to be a fun play, that's why we're doing it. And the majority of the time, at least in competitive Smite, having fun is winning. I don't have fun when I lose personally, and I'm sure they probably feel similarly, which is why they win so often. I'm expecting high-octane, early aggression, unorthodox picks, and a lot of, like, early Uzi rotations. And that's kind of the name of the game for Uzi. I'm expecting him to try and stay out of the solo lane as much as possible.
And that's kind of been the name of the game for a lot of solo lane. Even though we've been seeing a little less of the teleport, we've been seeing a lot of early rotations to some of these mid lane fights more than anything else from these solo laners. Magic Feed, who again came into these tournaments with basically no major name recognition, no social media presence whatsoever. I don't understand how a man this good has been able to go this long without any kind of social media, but he's made a splash the instant that he jumped into the scene, and now he's going to be going up against. You got something, Mifflin?
Look, J-Mac, I'm gonna teach you something about like getting in the bag. All right, you gotta stay focused. Magic Feet is good because he doesn't have social media. While you're out there busy tweeting and Facebooking, my man is practicing the blade in jungle practice. Get out there, so get off Twitter, chat. Get in the game, practice.
They're going to be squaring off against the JAZZY JACKUARS here, a team that we saw earlier on. Get a nice win over Lean onto it. That's going to be Dishonored, Short Fuse, Panda Turtle, Blugan, and Tuba for the roster of the JAZZY JACKUARS. And kind of in that second game here, specifically for this mid lane, is where a lot of my money's on with this team. Panda Turtle on this Agni, just based off the performance that he's had today alone. This is a god that I do not want to be giving over to that mid laner.
I would be surprised if Agni makes his way through more than one game for this guy, right? Like, Panda Turtle has such a good performance on it. In the very last set we got to watch, consistently top of the damage charts, consistently getting involved early in the game. I mean, taking 1 versus 2 in mid. We didn't even see, really, the JAZZY JACKUARS prioritize the mid 3v3. It was just, hey, Panda Turtle, you think you can handle it? And he did. There was no I think. He simply performed up to the highest standard.
And Blugan kind of flexing around the god pool here. I mean, at the start of kind of the midway point of last season's SCC, this guy was running some less than conventional support picks. I mean, Odin was a common one. Gilgamesh was something that he and Gamma really loved to run over in the North American SCC. And then seeing him come back over here onto this E-set, which is essentially kind of, this goddess is basically stapling her name as being a support god at this point. Yes, we've seen the Sino jungle E-set. We've seen a little bit of the mid E-set. But it really feels that ESET as a whole, though, Mifflin, has found her role once again, and it was over in support.
Yeah, not a massive fan of that, honestly. I
No.
like it better when she's in mid. Like, I think she's good in support. Is she probably best in support right now? Yes. But that doesn't mean I gotta like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to love it. It's just, it's such a different playstyle. It's so counter to the rest of the supports in the game, in that there are supports that are trying to get involved super early. They want to close gap. They want to get in your face. They want to get aggressive. There are displacement supports. And then there's ESET, who's just CCing you from a range and then walking to Gold Fury, dropping the ultimate and saying, hey, well, don't walk in. You're probably going to die. But if you don't walk in, we're also going to get the Gold Fury. It's just a very different style, and it really changes how the opposition has to address the laning phase.
Well, a very important part of every single one of these competitive games is the picks and bans, so we'll go ahead and start from that point out here for game number 1. Picks and bans between the FUNHAVERS and the JAZZY JACKUARS to see where everything will pan out between these two teams. We talked a little bit about the Agni that was coming over on the way of Panda Turtle. Would be surprised if it did even make it through one game, but if it makes it even more than that, I'd be even more surprised out here, though. Thoth is still another relevant topic towards that mid lane, as well as these assassins that have that jungle and support flexibility, such as the Circuit and the Fenrir, so no surprise to see Circuit as a ban out here, and alongside that will be that Thoth.
Yeah, just standard bans across the top. Generally, in the first game of a set, you really want to just get the standard meta out of the way, see how these teams kind of play around that. If they're going towards these more homey picks, the picks that you're just comfortable with, then you start to address that in games 2, games 3, or maybe if they're going for a more specific style of draft. Oh, these guys like playing auto attackers, match it up with a Fafnir. You can limit one piece and make an entire draft fall apart, or they like playing around just insane frontline, triple frontline style draft. Then you can address that a little bit later on. But as of now, in game 1, both the FUNHAVERS and the JAZZY JACKUARS have kept in line with that more standard meta.
And so far, the FUNHAVERS not a big fan of what Magic Feet has been able to do in the jungle there for the JACKUARS. So FUNHAVERS, or for FUNHAVERS, are actually banning their stuff here for Magic Feet themselves. A little interesting seeing these, considering that this Gilgamesh was kind of one of his big performing gods out here on this FUNHAVERS roster. Surprised to maybe see that, but maybe not so much going up against Short Fuse here. It will be Artio as a first pick after a Thoth, Amaterasu, and Persephone ban, and a very, very early ESET top pick. That one may be a little surprising, but not this Agni that Panda Turtle had some great success on.
You know, I was expecting some pretty decent ESET priority, considering these are like the only 2 guys in the North American SEC that are playing that god in the support role right now. Ocean's on the FUNHAVERS, and then you've got the JAZZY JACKUARS have got, I believe it's Blugan playing support for them. For some reason, I keep thinking Blugan's the mid laner. I feel like he played that a couple years back, but certainly is Blugan here and very capable of playing that pick. If you know there's going to be a little bit of discrepancy, a little bit of argument over who gets it, getting it high up in that priority order, going to serve you very well. Artio, on the other hand, why are we top picking that? You know, like, we didn't see the JAZZY JACKUARS take it a single time in their set. They didn't ban it out either. Not a lot of priority there. I know that Uzi loves the pick. I get that. I'll let you say it. So go ahead.
I was gonna say it is an Uzi god,
but why? Why Artio so high up when you could get something else a little bit more strong? With Thoth already being banned by the JAZZY JACKUARS, I think Agni really is that only other god on the same tier right now. The JAZZY JACKUARS essentially just get exactly what they want with their top 2.
Now, the Artio, Medusa, and Daji on the side of the FUNHAVERS. Meanwhile, JAZZY JACKUARS take the ESET, Agni, and Izanami. So the dual lane has been rounded out. The mid lane that was so dominant for Panda Turtle in their last set is going to be a nice little lock-in here, and they can continue to ban away some more supports. 2 of them right here, Fenrir and Nox, which Nox, kind of a head-scratcher there, but the last time that we did see Nox was a direct counter to ESET, though that was the Leviathans versus the Bolts all the way back at Worlds.
Yes, that is. Look, man, you gotta prove to me that you got a Nox before I'm banning out a Nox. I haven't seen Oceans play it too often. And, like, the confidence with which you said, yeah, that's a support ban. I agree, but that was a lot of confidence coming from you there. Very surprising. Already unorthodox picks and bans, well, mainly just unorthodox bans so far from this set. But that's what you can expect when these 2 teams have had so much data on each other, have had so much time to practice and theorize and figure out exactly what it is that they want to address from the other side. But in doing so, have essentially, the JAZZY JACKUARS, that is, forced the FUNHAVERS into a more standard composition. I would argue that the FUNHAVERS, more often than not, when they do lose, it's because they're shooting themselves in the foot by going out of their way to have more fun. the fun's been limited here. But that forces you into just better meta selections.
Yeah, right now, I mean, a Horus and a Tiamat, you can't really argue with that. Bottom two out of the FUNHAVERS, where the top three may have been a little bit more questionable, more specifically maybe that top one in that RDO. But then you get to pick up one of the better warrior supports that we've been seeing in recent metas with the Horus, Tiamat, who has slotted herself real nicely right back into this meta. You know, previously I was kind of wondering, man, why Tiamat? It doesn't seem like she fits in, but after all the games that we've been seeing of Tiamat, absolutely no question if anybody wants to lock this one in. Maybe the only question mark for me here is going to be this Kali as a 10th pick. Mifflin, as we get ready to jump into game number one here, I mean, how do you feel about this Kali pick on the JAZZY JACKUARS?
Well, from what we saw from Short Fuse in the last set that he played, it was a lot of early game aggression, the ability to get involved early. I associate him with the Gilgameshes of the world. Kali is faster in Season 9, no boots, you can just go straight into the Crusher, you can get your itemization relatively quickly, a serrated edge, and then you're ready to go, right? But it still is a slightly slower pick than I'm used to seeing from the JAZZY JACKUARS jungler. Looking at the rest of the draft, you've got plenty of pieces that are going to scale throughout the early, so putting a little bit more emphasis on Short Fuse, saying, hey, do well in the late, we're probably just going to win.
It's game number one in the final qualification set between the FUNHAVERS and the JAZZY JACKUARS. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug to bring you this momentous set here. And a lot on the line for these teams. Winner here, they get a nice and comfortable Phase 1 playing in the SCC. The loser's going to have to fight a little bit harder through the SOC to get another opportunity later down the road. And a very normal, actually a very interesting start out here. We have been seeing this a little bit more in the NA side, where you throw your solo laner and your jungler together at this speed buff. You let your mid laner start on that red all by themselves. It seems that both, no, actually not both teams. We do have only the FUNHAVERS going with this start.
Yeah, I agree. When you have picks like Medusa in the long lane, this start helps out a lot. Gives In My Zen the ability to take over to level 2 about the very second he rotates in a lane, and a level 2 Medusa is a massive threat. This does limit your presence in the mid lane, which could open up the door for Panda Turtle getting control around the mid camps, but even then you're not too concerned with it. The only one this really does hurt is JAZZY, who misses out on a slight bit of experience, but it helps out the rest of your lanes so much that generally it's worth it. But despite that, the duo lane, the one who's supposed to benefit the most from that start for the FUNHAVERS, still lost out on pressure. That's going to happen against an Izanami and an Iset, though.
Yeah, not the easiest two to really fight back into. I almost questioned for a moment that the fact that In My Zen got his dash at level 1 compared to the Acid Spray, but with this start, he does hit level 2 off that purple buff, so he'll have the ability to get Acid Spray immediately going back into lane. And now with both of these guys, both of these teams at least sitting at level 2 in that duo lane, a little bit more of an even state as far as things are concerned here. But we do have the jungler Magic Feet sticking around the soul lane for a little while longer. We'll be able to help get that first early totem of Ku and try and give a little bit of extra pressure and help to this RDO early on. Yeah,
some more mana sustain as well. But Uzi now probably slightly behind in experience, splitting out that wave. I'm not sure. I haven't done the exact math on like what it is soloing the blue buff versus splitting the entirety of the jungle in the first wave, but I would imagine that Uzi slightly behind. This puts Magic Feet slightly ahead. This puts the duo lane slightly ahead for the FUNHAVERS, but holistically, it's going to be a dead even match for the JAZZY JACKUARS and the FUNHAVERS going forward. And despite not having any pressure in mid, seems to me Magic Feet able to confirm those right side camps on his own.
He's going to be chased down here. Looks like Short Fuse went for a very hefty engagement there. Magic Feet will teleport back to JAZZY to get themselves back to safety, avoid that potential first blood over in mid, except maybe some first blood action over in duo. That'll get the beads out of Tuba off Ocean's dash. But that just makes it a much easier target for Magic Feet if he can hit level 5 before those beads come back up.
Yeah, that Palau could be massive in this next couple of engagements. It's going to be a little while until he takes over to level 5, maybe the second rotation of buff. Similarly, In My Zen loses out on his own relic. And this dual lane matchup, I think, is going to be very interesting going forward. If Oceans engages onto Tuba with his dash, the Fracture, it could always be silenced out by Blugan. Tuba narrowly escaping his death here as Blugan was distracted in the jungle, stepping up to that purple buff.
They wanted to go for the purple buff, but now they're going to have to fight to try and keep this one secured away. Zen will sit very far back to make sure that he doesn't get in any danger trying to go for this buff. Ocean does secure it. Zen dashes in alongside his support. And first blood will go to the FUNHAVERS.
Yeah, Blugan just playing with fire, stepping so far forward. And that was the concern. if In My Zen lacerates Tuba, pretty easy for Blugan to stop that from happening. You just stop it all with Dispel Magic, you give your buddy a little bit of a health shield and stun immediately afterward. Or you step up on your own, alone in lane, without Blugan, and just simply die. Zero respect given over to the FUNHAVERS dual lane, and you should probably put some respect on a Medusa. It's not hard to execute on. Lacerate, Viper Shot, Acid Spray if you need it. I don't even think he needed it.
And easy confirmation setup right after. I mean, sure, you do have the dash for Tuba to try and get away. JAZZY has the leap to get away from short fuse here in the mid lane, so no death, at least going JAZZY's way here. But I mean, this dual lane is just easy setup for each other, really on both ends of the coin here. You know, Blugan can set up for Tuba to get some damage. But Oceans and Zen have one of the nastiest combos in the game right here. I mean, one Lacerate to set up for a dash, or vice versa, dash to set up and Lacerate Acid Spray after that. I mean, I don't want to step up to this duo no matter what.
Yeah, I would be okay with it maybe in a 2v2. In the 1v1, probably not. In the 1v2, definitely not. But undeterred are the JAZZY Jackguars. In My Zen now benefiting from a pretty significant lead in this lane, and nice baits.
Now it's a 2v2. Blugan loses out on their beads, and they will go down. In My Zen, credit to the kill, a dash in, but now it's Short Fuse coming to the rescue to help out his dual lane, and that'll make sure to take down one and make it a 1-for-1 trade.
It's a good bounty given over to the Kali. Short Fuse now got a slight advantage over Magic Feet in the jungle, level 6 to his 5.
Oceans goes in with another dash, slowing down Tuba. The dash from Tuba and pathing over to the side to try and buy a little bit of extra time. Magic Feet not electing to go in. Thought maybe we would see this dodgy jump in, especially the fact that Tuba still didn't have his beads, but maybe they thought that their time had ran out.
Yeah, Magic Feet, I would have imagined a Powwow, sure, pull him out of the tower, but going into that tower, especially considering how close by Short Fuse was, that's super dangerous. Speaking of, JAZZY stepping up aggressively in the lane, takes a good deal of damage from Panda Turtle. If Agni is confident enough to dash on you, or dash in the lane, not towards his own tower, not to escape a situation, that's a pretty good indicator of how confident that player is. Panda Turtle still feeling himself from that last set.
He's going to walk up, but he'll soon find himself surrounded by 3 members of the FUNHAVERS. One dash out, but Oceans will catch them on the tail end. Beads expended early, and that should be a Powwow now from Magic Feet. Will be able to pull him in, throws out 3 chains, and the third's damage alone will be enough to take them down. 4 up for the FUNHAVERS.
So I'm noticing a common thread across the entirety of the JAZZY Jackguars. Mechanically, talented. These guys are landing every ability right now. The willingness to show respect to your opposition, simply not there. I mean, what is Panda Turtle doing? Just walking up in the lane. That's an easy gank for Oceans, who just walks around.
I'm not seeing any ward coverage. Oceans will find Tuba here. Tuba, about all that they can do at this point is just sit under this tower and maybe wait for some help to come over.
Slow.
The slow will be good from Oceans, but no further follow-up with no minion wave. Zen doesn't want to step into that tower. Oceans not wanting to take it much longer, but Oceans still wants to go for this fight. Dashes down.
Wow.
Spirit Ball misses by Blugan.
No way.
But Oceans will find Tuba. Circle of protection won't be enough to save it. Blugan may have just stepped to their own death. Horus ultimate up in the sky. Where will Oceans land? The question, or the answer to that question, is actually completely away. Blugan will be safe for now.
Man, Oceans was styling right there. Just ignores Blugan. Similarly, Short Fuse forces a step forward, goes into destruction. Death immune now. Gonna try and find somebody, a target to get some of that HP back. Oceans, well, he's just dead.
He stepped over the path of flames. He's
just
not
dead
just yet. The ball misses from Panda Turtle.
What?
JAZZY rotates over and finds one. Blugan goes down at the double kill for the mid and maybe
Don't go
making a
back.
circle here. Magic Feet comes back in and gets the kill on the Panda Turtle, and Tuba, who had died earlier on, just comes back to witness the bloodbath in the graveyard of his team.
What? Dude, Oceans does not care. He ignores Blugan in the lane, walks over, ignores a destruction Kali, just walking around. My man was lackadaisical in his approach, sauntering throughout the jungle, prancing over the corpse of his enemies. This is insane. Oceans needs to be punished. He can't keep getting away with that. Look, he's good. Good player. He does everything right in that he lands his abilities, he finds the kills. But 9.9 times out of 10, he's just dead there. Crazy. JAZZY Jackguars, they fumble the bag legitimately, at least on that support kill.
One auto would have been it. A slightly better placed bomb could have been it too. I mean, Oceans even walked over a path of flames and still made it through. Dishonored has to use that ultimate to get Magic Feet and Uzzy to back away. Short Fuse is sitting by inside the jungle in case he needs to come over and help out his buddy in the solo lane. We'll find a stun against Magic Feet, and we'll find most of Magic Feet's health. Short Fuse, though, doesn't have beads, so it'll be an easy pull into the Pow-Lao and an easy escape for Magic Feet. And Uzzy will just run some damage right back at them, continuing the crash in, but a blink from Short Fuse just comes up in time for him to get out.
It does escape with his life narrowly in this scenario. Had Uzzy dedicated a little bit more time, there's a good rotation from the Jazzy Jaguars support and mid laner over towards that right-hand side of the map, but to no avail, no overcommitment from the sole laner of the FUNHAVERS. Speaking of Oceans, I can't blame him, sure. Why not dash on the tower line 2 versus 1 completely alone? He's been proven time and time again that there's not much that the Jazzy Jaguars can do to stop him.
And it's wild for how much Oceans has done that he's actually behind Bluegan in XP, at least for now. But, I mean, look at this disparity in mid. JACKY level 11 to level 9 Panda Turtle on this Agni. Item and a half built up here. But into this duo lane, all that pressure that's been put on Tuba has given Zen essentially free reign. Ultimate out of Zen just to face check and see if Tuba's paying attention. Tuba is, but it's a purple buff now stolen away off the rotation from Magic Feet. 4 of the Jazzy Jaguars in tow. That will be a quick disengage now for the side of FUNHAVERS.
Short Fuse doesn't have Blink, so it's going to be really hard for him to close gap in a meaningful way. If he leaps in, sure, you've got death immunity, but then you don't have the chase out for Lacerate. Magic Feet could very easily just go into the Pow-Lao and disengage. That's one of the weaknesses of Kali in the early game. She really is dependent on that aggressive relic, the Blink, to get her aggression rolling, and for the next 50 seconds, simply not going to be available here. Ideal situation for Short Fuse now is that the FUNHAVERS just get aggressive and come to him, but fighting around a Kali, not exactly ideal, especially with these power spikes that he's already hit. Crusher finished up, Charge Bow in that second slot, that OG Scream style of build. Going to help a fair bit in these team fights, and I'm sure the Jazzy Jaguars were expecting to be doing a fair bit of team fighting. Looking at their draft, Agni, very good around these neutral objectives early on, but more specifically Bluegan should be able to, but to no avail as of yet.
Blink onto Short Fuse by Oceans. A lot of damage returned back to Magic Feet. Panda Turtle helping out his jungler to make sure to get a kill there. JACKY not able to put the full poke right back at the Panda Turtle. But 1 kill back up now here for the Jaguars. Finally getting a nice little shutdown onto Magic Feet, punishing for me a little bit of extra aggression there that came from Oceans.
Man, they just refuse, the FUNHAVERS that is, to leave this tower line. JACKY taking a little bit of damage, drop down to half, disengages good. Can Panda Turtle find a stun though?
Dishonored is here, maybe that can be enough to get a slowdown on them. Oceans finally punished for standing at that tier 1 tower line. Uzzy late on the rotation to help that one out. And the Jazzy Jaguars are able to turn 2 kills in the midst of that fight.
Yeah, Ocean says, look, my life, not super valuable. I've already dedicated the majority of my time to making sure everybody else gets farm. I don't want my level 13 mid laner to die. Walks back, gets the 3-man updraft, not triple knock-up, and says, all right, my life's worth it from here. Go ahead, take me. At least JACKY makes out alive, and he does. 8-3 across the top. FUNHAVERS still nursing a pretty small 2,000 gold lead at the 11-minute mark. No neutral objective attempts, though. I was expecting the FUNHAVERS to maintain a very aggressive pacing. Could be that we see them regroup and try and force an objective shortly, considering that Bluegan just used his ultimate. You know, Destruction's probably down a little bit longer, and 80 seconds left on that blink from Kali. With no teleport out of the soul lane or Dishonored either, could be that it's just a 5 versus 4 scenario if Uzzy decides to make the rotation himself.
For now, it's just a very quiet Prouts about the jungle here for the side of FUNHAVERS. 3 grouped up in this right side jungle, mostly just to secure some of these flowers that are on the map and available to the Obelisk that have come back up. Dual lane pressure still belongs to Zen, though. I mean, 3-1 and 4 up to the 0-2-1 Izanami. Zen has been getting the better end of trades, the better end of farm. And you're talking about some of that neutral objective play. Well, that one's going to go FUNHAVERS. A little late on the pop there from Bluegan on the circle of protection. So FUNHAVERS will finally get the first neutral objective on the map, being the Pyromancer.
Surprised that it goes that easily to the FUNHAVERS. The Jazzy Jaguars had vision on the Pyromancer itself, inside the pit. They had vision on the HP, they knew when it started, they knew exactly what was happening, but Short Fuse not close enough by, couldn't rotate in. Dishonored gets caught out by Uzzy, who essentially locks him down. So it's all up to Bluegan. And Bluegan tries to do the last second circle protection steal. I think had Bluegan just gone a little bit closer, had he taken the time to walk around the Pyromancer wall and just dropped the circle protection itself and forced it to charge up, that would have forced the FUNHAVERS to either disengage or play a weighted coin toss favoring the Chaos team. Instead, though, just a interesting usage of that ultimate. So, okay, maybe 200 damage is enough. It was not.
Well, a little unlike Oceans in his typical builds as far as these E-sets go, Bluegen does go with a Pridwin second item immediately after that Gauntlet of Thieves, where more often than not with these E-set supports we've been seeing, you know, the Lono's mask kind of slotted in here. Mifflin, how do you kind of feel about this Pridwin as the second item?
More CDR, a little bit of power, a slight bit of survivability. Bluegen hasn't been the target of too much aggression. I'm fine with this style of build. And when you bring up the Lono's Mask second slot, that's the Ocean special, right? He's generally the guy who's playing ESET at every opportunity, and when he does so, he goes towards that Lono's. He says it's because he gets focused. I say it's because he has crazy, wild man positioning. Bluegen, not so much. He hasn't been playing wildly aggressive, doesn't need that additional defense just yet. Instead, can now leverage the power, the scaling of circle protection towards these more important neutral objectives, Gold Fury, Pyromancer, once it respawns. I think this is just a fine build.
Well, for now, there will be no bubble on Oceans. He had that one popped as he was wildly walking at an enemy purple buff all by himself. But now setting up for the Gold Fury. Oceans goes in, finds Bluegen, but some big damage coming out of Zen with that Petrified. Bluegen drops the circle of protection, but ends up stepping out whenever he pops it back through, so no extra healing means that Bluegen is not going to find it through. Perfect Pow Lao to body block Bluegen out. First kill of the fight goes the way at the FUNHAVERS, but Dishonored wants to turn around and get something for his team if possible, but it's going to be a beads pop out of him to walk his way out of this fight, and Panda Turtle forced back by Uzzy.
Uzzy doing so much right now. Tuba forced a retreat back towards his own back camps to teleport in. The Trickster Spirit from Magic Feet, a massive threat here. Bluegen still 10 seconds on the respawn. I guess he could say he's being focused, considering that was a large commitment from the FUNHAVERS, but for good reason. Uzzy stealing some flowers. The rest of the FUNHAVERS stealing an objective. Gold Fury going to go their way. Except they reset it.
They reset
that was close.
And almost lost it to Tuba there. I guess thankful for them, Tuba didn't have any major burst damage ability to steal that one away like with the Dark Portal. So FUNHAVERS do get gold. They do get their obelisk, and they get a nice little kill during that fight as well. That spikes their lead up to 5,000 gold and XP. Just 15 minutes into the game, a very nice chunk of a lead to start things out.
It is. There's some fight back potential, though, from the JAZZY Jaguars. Short Fuse didn't find a great target once he went into that destruction, but he does have great damage output already. Kin size, Crusher, Charged Bow. So only not even an entire level down, about a half level down on this Kali. Actually, a half level up, 15 now, over Magic Feet's 14. That's your win condition. That's your way back in. This Kali, slower start, but starting to hit some of those power spikes are going to be very significant. Similarly, Panda Turtle, he's starting to get that build online. Spear of Desolation, Divine Ruin finished up, goes into that Ob Shard in the third slot. He's significantly behind in that there is a completed item for Joshi, Soul Reaver, before going in towards that exact same Tier 2 Ob Shard in his slot. So, Tiamat not only benefiting from 2.5 levels, but also an entire item over his opposition. That's going to be tough to deal with.
Doug, if possible, can we get the net worth chart up? Because I'm interested as to where Tuba's standing out here compared to Zen. Pretty far apart in the charts, nearly 2,000 plus gold between those guys, and you can see it reflected in their build. A full Wind Demon versus only a Tier 1 Light Blade for Tuba, and this has been the case since minute 1 of Tuba in danger. Chain does find Tuba. Aegis comes out, but that will only delay the inevitable as he does go down. The Magic Feet will fall right after. Quick rotation in from Bluegen to grab that last hit at the very end of it. And Joshua will leap away. That gives Oceans a target to go through there. But it was close, actually. That Aegis and then the beads at the last moment immuned that bonus damage from the Pow Lao.
It did. Tuba loses out on both relics and his life, though. We got to be objective base. At the end of the day, you got to talk about exactly what happened, and he lost everything. Every single bit. Both of his relics and his life. So on respawn, Tuba, who has already been struggling to find his footing in lane, will continue to do so. Silver linings where they lie. Tuba loses his Tier 1 tower. Hear me out. This is still the silver lining. I know it sounds bad, but he can now hold the wave at his Tier 2, which means in my Zen will either have to step all the way up to Tier 2 or miss out on farm.
Doesn't matter about a Tier 1 in mid. Oceans and Uzzy are willing to dive that one, especially with how squishy Bluegen is comparatively. Down to a quarter health. Destruction popped by Short Fuse, chasing out Joshi. Joshi needs some help, but he will not get it. Short Fuse finds the first kill of the fight. Oceans caught in the middle with Uzzy, and they're going to need some extra help from Zen to get the kill there if they can. They will find Blugan, but Uzzy's still in danger. Turns around to try and slow down Tuba, and Dishonored will do so, but that rainstorm has caught Uzzy in place. Ult in from Oceans to bring Magic Feet back into the fray. But to start this out, it is a 2-1 to the Jaguars.
Magic Feet still has ultimate, but he's got bigger fish to fry. That's a jungler play through and through. Speed buffs up. I'm taking that every day of the week. Magic Feet, can you walk out of here alive, though? Did you dedicate too much time?
Powwow up. We'll find a chain onto Panda Turtle. We'll find one onto Dishonored. But no beads are up for Panda Turtle, which means that Magic Feet should be able to find a path out. But Dishonored had that axe ready to go right away. Zen has to use the Aegis to get away from the axe toss in. Ultimate through. Not quite enough. We'll need a little bit of extra. Torrent from Dishonored will take them down. Oceans, who tried to go back in to save them, will also pay the price. And Magic Feet, the only one to walk away during all of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the mental math as a jungler. Magic Feet trades out his support and his ADC, so the entire duo lane for speed buff. That's worth. I'd do it every day. I think if Magic Feet could go back and make that decision again, he would. Just kidding. That's not great. You don't want to have that be the case for your squad. And 20 seconds of the grayscale will have Oceans have plenty of time to discuss that decision with his jungler and let him know that he's not pretty happy about how that one pans out. In my Zen, similarly, going to miss out on a lot of that lead. And Tuba needed this time to free farm. What was it, about 3 levels up over the Izanami just a moment ago for In My Zen? Now only 1 level, 17 to 18. Kin size finished up, Relics back as well. That was a much-needed breather, a timeout that Tuba was able to benefit from.
That's going to get all those Relics back up now. The last one just came off of cooldown, so Tuba is feeling a little bit more confident now over in that duo lane. Doesn't have to worry. Well, still does need to worry about the potential gank that's been coming his way pretty much the entirety of this game, but can feel a little bit safer knowing that those relics are back up. Breastplate of Determination picked up by Oceans here right after finishing the standard Breastplate of Valor, upgrades it to that glyph. Opposite side now is when Blugan will elect to go towards that Lona's Mask. Does have that tier 2 towards it, so still doesn't have that extra damage mitigation from that item just yet. But maybe won't need it here for the moment being. Primal Fury up by the FUNHAVERS, but there's 3 from the Jaguars here. They're not willing to make that commit.
No, just a heat check from the FUNHAVERS, seeing if maybe the JAZZY Jaguars are playing elsewhere on the map. I'm surprised the JAZZY Jaguars do decide to rotate all the way over to the Primal. With the style of draft that they have, I think that maybe they could have just gone for a split situation, maybe a sneaky Fire Giant instead of the team fight, but instead, at this even state, why leave it up to a risky level of play? You're only about 2,000 down, experience largely equalized. I like this.
Uzzy, half health, ultimate from Dishonored, will be beads out. Uzzy barely living through this and trying to help out Zen, who's eating a ton of damage just from this chalk alone. The dash in by Oceans to give a little bit of extra support to Uzzy will be enough to get them out. But now the Primal that was initially heat checked by the FUNHAVERS has been started by the JAZZY Jaguars. It's only Oceans here to try and get in, and there's no shot that this Horus makes it. JAZZY Jaguars, they have turned this game right back around. What was a 5,000 gold and XP lead that they were down. Now it's the JAZZY Jaguars who have only 1,500 behind in gold, but XP has essentially gone back their way.
Yeah, XP now about 2,000 in their favor, and you can see it mostly in the jungle. Short Fuse going to be first to 20 in this game. 2 levels up over Magic Feet in the jungle. That is tough. The Kali, she's online. It's time to go. Time to get involved. Berserker Shield finish, going down the bow tree yet again. Kin size done, so front line not going to be safe up against this pick, and with death immunity, the front line won't even have time to DPS race him either. Uzzy, Joshy, Oceans, all these guys going to be great targets for this Kali to try and isolate in some of these team fights. Take a peek at the relic selection, though, from Oceans. This Ankh pickup going to go a long way, not just stopping the destruction heal from Short Fuse, not just the circle protection from ESET, but also a little bit of lifesteal from Tuba, Dishonored, self-healing. Nobody going to be able to deal with any of that as long as Oceans gets that relic off in a nice spot.
And as long as he can get up into as many people as possible to
he
pop
hasn't had
that,
trouble doing that.
No, he's been able to get into the back lines pretty easily so far this game. It's been some more so of him finding a way out of those back lines, especially in these last couple of team fights here. He's already found all 5 of them. Ankh still up, and he looks like he won't really get much of a chance to pop it through here. He will go down. Short Fuse credited to the kill. Powwow, though, by Magic Feet, finds 2. Tuba gets yanked back in, maybe a little early to grab those beads out. 1-for-1 trade so far, and Uzzy wants to keep it going, but Blugan with a nice silence will at least hold Uzzy off away
Uh-oh.
from the rest of Blugan's team, but Blugan himself is all by himself.
Magic Feet gonna die to the tower here. Credit to kill to Panda Turtle. Was able to shoot some bombs over the wall and make sure there was enough damage to turn that into a 2-for-2 trade. Panda Turtle still hovering nearby, and a 3-man grouping from FUNHAVERS could have been an opportunity for a pretty massive bomb stun. But don't think the FUNHAVERS are out just yet. Dishonored and Short Fuse were working their way forward. Short Fuse still has Blink and Beads and Ultimate, so he's a massive threat on the map on his own. But 2-for-2, Magic Feet still dead for 30, Blugan and Tuba dead for another 20. Neither team can really stick around. Pyromancer hasn't respawned just yet. Should be a reset to neutral and go back in. Or just this.
Short Fuse gets caught, has to use Destruction, Zen used the Aegis to mean at the last little bit of damage,
Oof.
and the Minotaur blocks out Short Fuse's path. Joshi and Oceans with a nice turnaround save to make sure that Zen can make it out. Good timing on the Relic, better timing on the mid laner to help show up.
I wonder, had Joshi not spawned up the Minotaur, that body block was pretty big on the Short Fuse. Maybe the Destruction procs would have finished off that kill. Had that been his target, likely would have been able to at least stick around in the fight a little bit longer or potentially leap out. So high-risk play from Short Fuse, but not without merit. At the end of the day, though, got to be results-oriented. And, well, 30 seconds of the grayscale, where the FUNHAVERS are 5 strong, that's a major loss.
Fire Giant started up here by the side of the FUNHAVERS. Uzzy will tank that one up. Oceans will dive to the back line, but Magic Feet not going to find anything with that Pow Lao. Pulls in nobody. Doesn't find any of the main chain damage either. Uzzy still holding on to this fire, even despite the fact that his carry isn't even on it. Instead, they'll divert their attention to the Pyromancer and grab the smaller of the neutral objectives.
Yeah, Uzzy just being distracting more than anything right now. Spawning up those Fire Giant FX in the pit is going to keep the Jazzy Jaguars on edge. Are they on the Fire Giant? We can't see the HP. Let's step up. We got to get in there. And maybe somebody steps out of line. It's effectively just a bait attempt from Uzzy while the rest of his team takes the actual feasible objective, the Pyromancer. That one will go over to the FUNHAVERS, give them a slight additional movement speed on the way out of base, and well, they're probably going to be headed right on back towards the Fire Giant. A couple more wards in their pockets as well. 2 sentries to each of these teams. Current vision advantage probably going over to the FUNHAVERS because they've got some deep wards on the Jazzy Jaguars side of the map. As far as the Fire Giant pit itself, about split. 1 for FUNHAVERS, 1 for the Jazzy Jaguars. Neither team control the pit just yet.
Wild that the top wards in the game are going to the 2 carries of the Jazzy Jaguars. Maybe not so surprising for Tuba for how often he's been under fire over in that left side of the map, but still ranking at the top damage charts here is Panda Turtle. I mean, we've been seeing time and time again just how much damage a late game Agni can do. And all that even despite the fact that he is a full item plus down up against Joshi. He's been able to output almost twice the damage that Joshi's been able to here, and he's going to need to put out a little bit more. Beads are gone. Oceans, though, gets stunned out by the Spirit Ball of Blugan. That will slow down the support of the FUNHAVERS and maybe be a nice call for Dishonored to go right back in, but he's getting pelted by the damage of Joshi.
So now we know Dishonored is super squishy to magical damage. Any CC that comes his way, Joshi, well, he's got the damage check. He knows that if he can channel out that first ability, if he finds the stun, he can drop down Dishonored probably to around 50% with the first rotation. And Oceans knows that he found a pretty high-value relic off of that skirmish. Beads lost to Panda Turtle, who was worried about the fracture coming his way. Gap close not quite there for Oceans, who sticks around a little longer than I would have liked. Dives a little bit too far, forces himself to reset all the way back to base. But at the end of the day, that small fight, and it was a small fight, I'm not even sure if I'd qualify it as a fight, does go in favor of the FUNHAVERS. They took away a lot of value resources.
Beads for Panda Turtle, probably the biggest out of all of those here. Tuba doesn't have ult for about another 20 seconds. So that'll be when the Jazzy Jaguars potentially want to step back up towards this fire jump. But they may not even want to, considering Panda Turtle is down on that relic. Did manage to be able to go back to base and pick up that Pendulum of Time, or Pendulum of Ages, I should say. So that will give him a little bit of extra damage spike there, but still sitting a full item behind, and at least 3,000 gold's worth of an item behind. It's a Rod of Tahuti. Final pickup here by Joshi on this Tiamat.
Yeah, Joshi's got to be excited for this next fight. Dishonored's been diving pretty aggressively in these engagements and does not have a whole lot of magic defense to his name. Certainly not enough to deal with all this penetration already stacked up for Joshi. So clear target for him in this next fight. In my Zen, similarly, has started to finish up some pretty impactful items. Wind Demon done, so he's got a fair bit of crit. Already 28 power being benefited by Silver Branch Bro's passive. And this next item, likely going to be a Deathbringer, is going to be massive, but not really benefiting from a short sword. It's one of the worst tier 2s in the game. Just a power infusion for now for In My Zen.
Fire Giant started for a moment. Ozzy will hold on that. Again, just to see if Jazzy Jaguars want to step forward. Oceans does, and eats a couple of bombs from the mid laner here. Panda Turtle is more than willing to expend a couple of resources to throw those out. He's got quite a bit of CDR into the build, so those bombs will come up rather quickly. The Fire Giant now, once again being pulled to pull Dishonored forward. He will get caught out.
Yikes.
They'll eat some of that big damage out of Joshy, half health on the chalk. No beads available, only ult. We'll save him from this Pal Lao. He's got to use it to get himself out of there. A quick disengage from the Jaguars. Blugan does manage to find a Spirit Ball, but Oceans is doing just fine.
FUNHAVERS spot out Short Fuse on his roundabout pathing. He's going very deep, and he's got a lot of eyes on him. Does he know that the FUNHAVERS know?
Surely he's got to know now. You see him jump away. Oceans won't quite connect with the dash. Won't have the distance for the knockup, and a blink has to be forced out of this jungler just to get away from the slow right after. Everyone on the FUNHAVERS regrouping over towards this mid lane Harpy camp. Are they going to the fire? No. They're going straight to the back line, but a silence immediately on landing may have just been the saving grace for this team. Panda Turtle inside the circle of protection doesn't get the healing that he needs, and it's Oceans to take him down. Oceans, though, will trade out their life. Dishonored, caught out in the stun, has to go away. Joshy needs one more hit, but can't find it. Dishonored barely squeaks on out.
Oceans for the highest DPS target in the entirety of the game. That's a trade you take every single time as the FUNHAVERS. Panda Turtle dead for 40 seconds. No relics on respawn. You have to play very safe going forward. And Oceans being the support, he's 3 levels down on Panda Turtle. Going to respawn a little bit more quickly. Take a peek at the relics across the board for the Jazzy Jaguars as well. No beads for Dishonored. No beads for Blugan. Means that those are going to be some pretty easy targets for Magic Feet to force out either ultimates or lives with that Pal Lao. As of now, neither team stepping up to the neutral objective. Imagine the FUNHAVERS regroup yet again and try and force that exact same fight. Vision control seems to be the name of the game for both of these teams. That is exactly what nets that great positioning for the FUNHAVERS. Had they not realized Short Fuse was starting to work his way around their backline, they likely would have been stopped by Short Fuse. That was a massive call out. It was pinged out initially by Oceans, who saw him as he crept through that top right-hand side. And from there, Wards spotted out the rest of it.
Well, group up now by the Jazzy Jaguars. 5 strong, but not so strong in the relic department. Still over 80 seconds till Panda Turtle gets both of his relics back online. Aegis will come up just a little bit quicker. Those purification beads will. Oceans, again, just walking casually through the back line, and Dishonored casually taking quite a bit of damage. Front end my Zen on this Medusa. Deathbringer is finished up. Hasn't gotten the glyph just yet for this Hunter. But talking about glyphs that have been finished, Calamitous Ratatouille now online for Joshy. We'll see if that gets put into effect in this fight as Dishonored steps forward. Uzi and Oceans, the front line for the team to try and step up. They're not going to find a whole lot. Instead, it's Magic Feet versus Short Fuse, forcing Short Fuse to jump on out. Oceans goes to the back line, but a Spirit Ball will hold Oceans in place. Joshy gets some damage on Dishonored. Pal Lao by Magic Feet. Who's he going to pull in? It's going to be Blugan and Tuba, but not any follow-up after that Pal Lao. Instead, it's a forward trip from the FUNHAVERS on the wrong side of the Tier 2 tower.
Short Fuse still has ultimate. Panda Turtle's got a couple more bombs. Ozzy, though, has got plenty of HP to work with despite being left completely alone. He's winning this fight 1 versus 4, and the FUNHAVERS have taken notice. They're starting to step back forward.
The sustain kept Ozzy alive for so long, but he finally goes down. Short Fuse needs to find a target, but he doesn't find the right one. It's Magic Feet to trade out and pick up the double kill for the FUNHAVERS. But everybody is starting to fall low. Spirit Ball does connect onto Magic Feet, and he'll go down as Panda Turtle is back in the fight. But Joshy versus Dishonored, this is a fight that Joshy's want to taking every single time they've gone into
Panda Turtle,
and Panda Turtle steps up a little too far.
Yeah, he was feeling confident there. Dashes into his death. As, well, Joshy would like to take the 1v1 up against Dishonored. I'm sure he'd much prefer to hit that high damage target. Panda Turtle can spend 50 seconds in the grayscale thinking about the mistakes that he made as In My Zen was able to resustain a fair deal here. 9 seconds left on the ultimate. Maybe a steal attempt.
Zen does get spotted out by Dishonored. Dishonored Get a big 250 crit, but that Nemean is keeping Blugan from really dealing with any of the auto damage there. Zen got basically nothing up against that support. The Fire Giant doing the brunt of the work. Petrify finds two. Tuba eats a lot of damage from it, but the Fire Giant still stands, if only for a moment more. Jazzy Jaguars are waiting to see if maybe they can hold it for a couple of their members, but I'm not sure that they want to hold it for another 15 out here, especially with Uzi right around the corner. Very risky out, but Fire Giant does go to the Jazzy Jaguars, and Uzi will do everything that they can to at least find an escape path out.
Yeah, no more chase potential for Tuba. Dark Portal no longer up, so Uzi able to walk his way out of there. Had the Jazzy Jaguars stuck around for that chase, ultimate available to Oceans maybe would have been able to close gap and turn around that engagement. And the FUNHAVERS having a little bit too much fun, I'd argue. That whole fight starts to go south once they decide to dive behind the Tier 2 tower. If the Jazzy Jaguars are willing to give up that much space around the Fire Giant, go back to the Fire Giant. Go there. That's what you're fighting over, that positioning, that ability to control vision. It is so easy to take a fight when you've established defensive positioning. It's so much easier to defend a position than it is to fight back into it, that the Jazzy Jaguars had essentially ceded a large bit of pressure just by walking into their Tier 2 tower. FUNHAVERS, though, decided that they wanted a little bit more. They desync their aggression. Magic Feet gets dropped incredibly low. Even Oceans dives a little bit too deep. That leaves Uzi alone. He gets off a lot of damage in the 1v4, but not enough. Artio can survive for a little while, but she's not going to be able to finish off all those HP bars, and the Jazzy Jaguars are able to take the team fight from there cleanly, back up, and reestablish that positioning around the fire, pick it up for themselves, and start up their push.
Mifflin, this might be the closest that we've ever had a game this deep in. I mean, we are sitting 35 minutes almost in this game.
Did you watch the last set, man? There was like 4 for 4 trades. It was crazy.
I mean, as far as gold and XP is concerned
Fair
here,
enough.
I mean, we're sitting not even 100 gold separating these teams. It's going to go up just a little bit now that this Tier 2 in left lane does go down, thanks to the help of that Fire Giant. But, I mean, we're 35 minutes in. Gold is essentially dead even. Everybody except Oceans has hit level 20, and Oceans going to use that time to try and buy for the Phoenix, but he's going to need someone to help buy for his life as he's falling low. Magic Feet up in the Powwow does manage to pull back Tuba. Circle of Protection going to be enough to hold him out for the time being. Tuba managed to make it out. Oceans, I don't know how this man is still alive through all of this fire that's been going the way from Jazzy Jaguar. Short fuse pops the destruction. Yikes. And that might be all that saves his life there as he does manage to make it out.
Can Uzi maintain the chase? Needs to find a route for the rest of his team to close that gap. Magic Feet already so deep in the jungle. See if maybe he could find a straggler. But the FUNHAVERS learned their lesson from that siege on the right-hand side. Said, hey, let's not overextend. The fight looks good, but they still have Fire Giant on 4. Let's take it slow. They allow the Jazzy Jaguars to back up towards that Primal Fury because the FUNHAVERS got what they came for, which was maintaining their own base. They buy themselves a lot of time with that base defense. I'm thinking maybe another minute before we see the Jazzy Jaguars group up properly on a Phoenix, if they ever get the opportunity to group up on a Phoenix again with this Fire Giant. The FUNHAVERS, Tier 1 tower in mid, who cares? Nobody's concerned about that one. Could be the Jazzy Jaguars with only 1 minute left on this buff. Get a Pyromancer, reset, and have to fight over the Fire Giant all over again.
Topping the damage chart still is Panda Turtle on this Agni. It's only going to get worse as this last item is still being worked on for the mid laner. Relics, pretty much the only thing for most of these players left to finish out these builds as the supports are starting to hit their 6th item. Just about everybody else on the teams are hitting 6th items, so it is just going to be Relics left. And what Relics do we have out here? A couple of corrupted Bluestones on the side of Dishonor and Short Fuse to slow down mostly in my Zen for some of that attack speed out there. And a lot of temporal beads for these carries that have been picked up. Joshi and Zen are going to benefit nicely from having not just that CC immunity, but also that cooldown reset in the midst of that fight.
Yeah, temporal beads goes massive on some of these picks, namely Joshi, who's going to be able to use his escape, use his beads, and then use his escape immediately again, essentially giving himself a double dash with all the CDR he's got stacked up and the 3-second cooldown reduction from the temporal beads. And also has the Hasten Shell, so you're going to be moving a lot more quickly. Corrupted Blink, good hover, going to give you a lot of utility around these team fights. Go in, everybody's doing a little bit less on the other side. Similarly, Jazzy Jaguars have got a couple Corrupted Blinks to themselves. Dishonored and Short Fuse, once they engage, going to make a pretty big splash in some of these fights. This is a dead even game. All Relics going to be up for this next fight. Every single ultimate should be up as well. Fire Giant spawns in a little bit under a minute. A little under 30 seconds, rather, as it's going to plummet back on down towards the Vision, though, that's still favoring the Jazzy Jaguars. Vision on board, favoring the Chaos team. Vision in pocket, similarly, favoring the Chaos team. 4 sentries and too many wards to count.
Meanwhile, only a couple of sentries on the side of the FUNHAVERS. JAZZY will start eating some of this poke from this Agni. Fully slotted Ethereal Staff ended up being that last item for Panda Turtle. Strip away a little bit of that extra HP. Get himself a little bit of extra health, too, in the midst of these fights. So far, only Oceans for the remaining 10 players on this map here. The only one who hasn't finished a 6th item to his name, but doesn't feel like he's had to have needed so far. I mean, during that left side siege, he was the first one in and one of the last ones out, and he still was sitting at around that 25% health threshold.
Only 1 sentry left to the FUNHAVERS, and that's in the pocket of Magic Feet. He can't just walk up and drop it in the pit very safely, so Jazzy Jaguars have established complete dominance here. They've won out on the Vision War, barring a back from any of the FUNHAVERS. Biggest difference now is that Fuse has just shown himself on the left side of the map, clearing out that wave near his Phoenix. The FUNHAVERS know best case scenario, 5 versus 4 here on the right side of the map. Short Fuse realizing that probably can't be over there. He's one of the major tools for this team fight, has to start his rotation over back towards this objective, but even in doing so allows the FUNHAVERS a slight opportunity to step up, reestablish control around the pit itself. Jazzy Jaguars, despite having so much vision on the map, still playing hesitantly around this Fire Giant.
The unfortunate part about going up against an E set is that Blugan is very easily able to strip away some of these Magi's cloaks. Magic Feet walked just a couple feet too far forward. Blugan silences that one away, and now it's 45 seconds before that item is back up and off cooldown for Magic Feet. Ocean still holding on to theirs, and a very quiet last few minutes from these two teams. I mean, 35 minutes, I mean, we're sitting 4 or 5 minutes ago. FUNHAVERS are defending their left side Phoenix, and ever since that one little fight there, it has been a very quiet resurgence here as Jazzy Jaguars continue to push up and try and reestablish their control. Vision is still in their favor, as you say, around this Fire Giant. There is a blue ward right there in the pit, though. FUNHAVERS were able to sneak that in. And look at what Joshy's got sitting in pocket in that inventory. Elixir of Power, JAZZY down to half health. He'll have to back away. Teleport is up for the bear if needed, and JAZZY may just use that opportunity to reset.
Jazzy Jaguars know that they've bought themselves a couple of seconds, are able to pull out the now enhanced Fire Giant. Oceans loses his Magi's, and Magic Feet locks eyes with Short Fuse, where the pit is controlled by the Chaos team. Reset, though, as the FUNHAVERS show presence.
Magic Feet drops a ward back behind Short Fuse, and everybody on Jazzy Jaguars notices it right away and goes ahead and clips that one right out. Mid lane's being pushed by the Lizards, but once again, JAZZY is caught in the middle of a couple of players here from these long-range mages. And he's back down to half yet again. Doesn't have the teleport to come back. Woo! Short Fuse has the destruction to try and keep himself away from Magic Feet. A lot of beads will be popped too, but not going to use theirs until they've already been pulled back in. JAZZY again. The answer of fire up against Panda Turtle. And JAZZY down to a quarter health. Magic Feet also very low. Both of them going to have to go back to base to reset.
That's big value for Magic Feet. Not only does he take the destruction away from Kali, but also takes away those beads. Similarly, Dishonored lost out on his beads. Blugan no longer has beads. Tuba no longer has beads. The back line of the Jazzy Jaguar is going to be exposed in the next team fight. So that means you want to take an engagement soon as the Jazzy Jaguars. You want to fight before that powwow comes back up. Unfortunately, that timer is already ticking away. So much CDR available to Magic Feet, already halfway back up to that cooldown being available. Oceans knows that if he can get his teammates to that back line, it's going to be pretty easy to find some picks from here on out.
JAZZY just keeps running into Panda Turtle and keeps allowing Panda Turtle to pad those stats up just a little bit more. But this Fire Giant dance has been going on for what feels nearly over 5 minutes at this point. Will finally be started up by FUNHAVERS for a nice little heat check as far as their damage output to it. It's looking pretty nice. They're going to get a notification that somebody on the Jazzy Jaguars is not around. The answer to that is Short Fuse. He'll grab the Oni Fury. And now that's the call for the Fire Giant to start up. Already half health by Zen and Joshy sitting on the opposite sides of the pit here. JAZZY and Oceans eat a couple of bombs from the mid laner. Dishonored goes into the back line. Needs to try and stop this Fire Giant because it never got dropped. FUNHAVERS do get the enhanced Fire Giant. Dishonored gets caught out with a stun, but it's so does Oceans. Palau comes through, circle and protection to try and help out anybody who does get yanked back in. Short Fuse is able to jump out, and a massive shell keeps him alive, but not for much longer as Magic Feet finds one, trades their life, and Oceans is able to go up into the sky, crashing down and bringing the rest of the team with him.
3-man stun from Panda Turtle stops that aggression in its tracks. It only leaves Blugan as the feasible target. Uzzy, not willing to let that one go, is able to close gap on the Panda Turtle eventually and force out those last remaining sets of beads. Fire Giant will go to the FUNHAVERS, as will the positioning. Blugan just now making his way back towards base. 50 seconds left on Short Fuse, 50 seconds left on Tuba, and 4 strong, already knocking down the bird.
Panda Turtle does have some bombs up. He'll use one to poke out Uzzy, but the right side Phoenix is now gone. Jazzy Jackwar's base has finally been broken open. 43.5 minutes into the game, and still one tower. I don't know how there's even still a tower left standing on this map.
It's gone.
But the FUNHAVERS won't let it stand for much longer. That one crumbles under the damage that Zen and Oceans and Joshi are able to put out here right away. Uzzy walking up into the back line alongside Oceans. Mid lane Phoenix will meet a similar fate to that tier 2 tower.
They gotta be careful, the FUNHAVERS that is. I know that that's a good siege. They take out right and center Phoenix, but even if they lose out on their lives here, despite taking away those 2 birds, a clean fight for the Jazzy Jackwar's could very well spell the end of this match. That Oni Fury that went down a little bit earlier, now starting to get some value on the map. Left side starting to approach that Phoenix mid as well, but with the FUNHAVERS on the reset, with only 1 lane left for them to address to completely break the base of the Jazzy Jackwar's, there goes the last win of those Oni minion waves. The FUNHAVERS now have simplified this game. It's ARAM, but all on left. A-roll as they start to walk down this lane. And the base defense of the Jazzy Jackwar's, we didn't get a great look at it there because they were never 5 strong, is strong. Space control from Blugan, poke from Panda Turtle, Dishonored can stop those all-in siege attempts with that massive silence in his ultimate. And Short Fuse has been struggling to close gap into the backline. It's easy to defend your base. They're going to be walking at you. I'm expecting this Kali to find some value in this next fight.
We'll have to see where Short Fuse positions himself as this next fight breaks out, but Zen slamming out autos. I mean, 1,400 plus against minions. Sure, it's a minion camp, but that's still some big crit damage out there from this Hunter. And all relics, aside from the Blink for Oceans, is back up. Uzzy walks in. Dishonored also walks in, but he's going to lose more of his health. Short Fuse wants to find the kill, but a big stun out of Uzzy, and the cripple right after means that Short Fuse is not going to have anywhere to go after his initial engagement. Oceans credit to the kill, and up into the ultimate with this horse. Oceans can come crashing down into the back line. They'll find Panda Turtle all by themselves. Uzzy forces out the beads from the mid laner. Dishonored doesn't get a moment to breathe, doesn't get a moment to go back to the base. At least not for now. He'll be sent back in the body bag by Joshi. And finally, 45 minutes in, almost 46, the FUNHAVERS are trying to crack open the base, and they will do so. Titan goes down.
That was a back and forth battle. The FUNHAVERS establish early dominance in this one, but they allow it to slip away. The Jazzy Jackwar's from behind pick up the first Fire Giant. They siege. They aren't quite able to get a Phoenix for themselves, and in giving the FUNHAVERS just a little bit more time to regroup, finally were able to establish their first Fire Giant. What do they do with it? They win the game.
A very nice performance out here by both of these teams, but at the end of the day, it is the FUNHAVERS taking game number 1. We're going to take it to a quick break, and we'll come back with game 2 right after.
but I've never wanted to be like them. Monday to Friday, that's just nothing for me. We've got a life to live, so please don't waste my time. Let tomorrow be tomorrow, not here now. Forget your trouble and let's celebrate tonight. Come and join it, get it started in this town. I'd rather be fun than what they say won't be safe and sound. There's time for that, but not now. And while we are young, let's be stupid, just you, me, and the night. The one thing we should know is that we got plenty of time. That we got plenty of time. That we got plenty of time. You don't know a thing about what this is like. I don't want to think about what's ahead, I'm here now. 'Cause I've always wanted to feel alive. Live in the moment, let the future arrive. I'm gonna tell the world the way it's going down. Let tomorrow be tomorrow, not here now. Won't let them bother me, I'm not gonna waste my time. Come and join it, get it started in this town. I'd rather be fun than what they say won't be safe and sound. There's time for
And what I can, with almost certain confidence, say our longest game of the SCC qualifier so far, 46 minutes it takes the FUNHAVERS to take game number 1 of our set. Like I said, one of the longest ones and one of our closest battles too. I mean, we were 35 minutes into the game, Mifflin. Gold was about 1,000 separating at best. We did have some very early leads. I believe JAZZY JACKUARS had like a 5,000 at one point. FUNHAVERS close it up. Then they take a lead, and then the JACKUARS close it. Something like that. I mean, it was back and forth pretty much the entire game here, all the way up until the very last moments in that final Fire Giant, where the FUNHAVERS were finally able to find a silver lining out here and get a win over the JACKUARS.
And when the games go this late, one team fight in these critical situations are all it takes to tip those scales in favor of one team or the other. This time, the beneficiary of fate was the FUNHAVERS. They very narrowly take one engagement around the Fire Giant that opens up the door, pick up the objective, and then they literally open the door by killing like every bird. It was crazy. It was like an avian genocide out there.
I mean, when you think, 10 minutes prior
Nothing
to
for
that,
that?
no, that was a good one. That was actually a good one. I will give you that. That was pretty good. I was trying to jump into the point right away, but I'll give you your credit where it's due. And it's all at this fight right here, 43 minutes in, when FUNHAVERS held on to that Fire Giant the entire time through, never gave it up. And at that point, I'm thinking, man, this fight should just go the way of JACKUARS. I mean, FUNHAVERS expended so many resources through. I thought with that massive triple stun by Panda Turtle that would be able to stop things. And it did for only a moment's notice here.
Ooh, that's tough.
But during this fight, I mean, JAZZY, I think it's right to throw it into his perspective here, because throughout the majority of this game, it felt like him and Panda Turtle were the primary damage dealers of both of these teams.
I mean, Panda Turtle maintains his spot at near the top of the damage chart throughout the entirety of this game. I didn't realize that Fire Giant fight that Short Fuse had gone into destruction and then promptly turned into a statue as he stared down in my Zen in that Petrify ultimate. That's tough, man. You're death immune, and you just get to stand there and wait for the death to come. You didn't get to use that ultimate at all, and that's the thin margins that Akali brings. If you're on it, if you're able to find that priority, that singular reset, you're probably going to win the team fight. Short Fuse, unsuccessful in doing so.
Does not find that reset. 6-2 and 8 for JAZZY, 3-5-12 for Oceans here. 30,000 damage for JAZZY, 32 for Zen. Those are all good and nice numbers. Panda Turtle, though, will take at least the top damage in the game here. 47,000 out of this Agni. And we talked about it coming into this set with the mid laner for JAZZY JACKUARS of seeing more than one Agni game would be very surprising. And even with a loss here, I gotta imagine the FUNHAVERS show some of that level of respect and potentially ban this, because Panda Turtle felt like one of the main reasons as to why the JACKUARS were able to stay in this game for so long.
Well, FUNHAVERS aren't exactly the most respectful team on the planet. I mean, did you see the early game? Did you see what they were doing? They were walking into tier 2s at like the 8-minute mark. But I agree with your analysis. I would ban the Agni, okay? Don't feed the hot hand. This is 3 times now in a row.
Literal hot hand.
That we've... This is 3 times now in a row. That's good stuff. That Agni has popped off in Panda Turtle's hands. His hot hands, if you would. Don't let it happen again.
No. We'll see if it does happen, though. Picks and bans for game number 2 are here and ready to go. And it will be the Jazzy Jaguars on their second pick yet again. Which means FUNHAVERS have the pick of the litter for their first rounds of bans and that first pick. And we'll see what that priority is going to be. Serket will not be let through yet again. Same first ban out of the FUNHAVERS. Jazzy Jaguars, they'll stick with their similar ban here. They'll take away that Thoth yet again.
Yeah, so far, most things unchanged here. Amaterasu falls up. Guess both squads are pretty happy with it. Like the Jazzy Jaguars say, hey, that was a pretty close game. We could have won at any moment. And the FUNHAVERS said, hey, that was a pretty close game. We did win. So both teams probably confident in what they brought and are willing to line it up yet again. I would argue that the FUNHAVERS probably have a little bit more weight to their win in that they fumbled the bag early. It was like an 8,000 gold lead at the 20 or so minute mark that the FUNHAVERS had established for themselves before the Jaguars were able to tear it back by getting some objectives, winning out on a couple of skirmishes in the jungle, maybe some over-aggression from the FUNHAVERS, specifically that tier 2 tower dive on the initial dance of the Fire Giant at like the 23-minute mark. That's really where things started to turn around for the Jaguars initially. Up until then, the FUNHAVERS had complete control and therefore should probably feel better about their draft. That's the point I was trying to make. It took me a while to get there. But as of now, the Jazzy Jaguars, they're just fine with what they had. Though, a shift up, Medusa for themselves.
Yeah, will still be Ardio to the FUNHAVERS. Still, one of the biggest question marks is a first pick Ardio. But Medusa Agni goes over to the Jazzy Jaguars, so they take away Zen's big pick that he had with such success in last game, and they get Panda Turtle back on the hot hands yet again. But it's going to be Basset and Eset. Now going the way of the FUNHAVERS, you get one of the best assassins in the game in that jungle role picked up for the FUNHAVERS, and now taking a pick away from the support. Blugan now going to find something else to play here in this second game, and it's going to end up being the Khepri.
I like Khepri. I mean, it's going to help out keeping up your king. 100% win rate, sure, can't argue with that. If Agni's going to be doing everything for you, keep him alive. Scare's Blessing pretty strong with that, but the FUNHAVERS get one of the best gods in the game right now, Bastet. I say that because it seems like most people agree that Bastet is nasty. I try and play her in ranked all the time. I'm not allowed to. It just simply does not happen. Generally banned out in competitive Smite as well. And then Eset going over towards Oceans is one of his favorite picks. It allows him to play that aggressive style in lane, but also he gets wild. He gets his Lono's Mask in second slot. He just runs you down at Gold Furies. He runs you down in mid. And it really does transition well in towards these objectives. It essentially simplifies it to, hey, we got to pick. Is Circle Protection up? Oh, yeah? Okay, then let's go. Whatever's up, we're going to go there. This is a draft that I'm sure the FUNHAVERS are very happy with. If they got a blind pick, I don't think it'd be far off what we're seeing.
Tiamat Zeus will be the bans from the Jaguars. So now they've already got their mid laner, one of their best mids that they could ask for over here for Panda Turtle. They'll continue to push back a little bit as far as the FUNHAVERS God pool is concerned. Kali and Daji were the bans on the side of the FUNHAVERS, though, making take some shots into the jungle. Charybdis picked up here. Maybe a little questionable. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of Charybdis mostly from Snoopy over anybody else. But we'll find her way here alongside Baba Yaga, who has been sneaking her way in here as kind of one of these mages to pop up when these top 3-4 have already been picked or banned away. Yeah,
Baba Yaga, I'm still not convinced, man. Maybe I get convinced here. Me personally, not a massive fan of this pick, especially up against these poke-style mages, Agnis, the Thos of the world. They're going to sit just outside your home sweet home range, and they're going to deal a lot of damage, or they're going to poke you before you go into it, and you're not even benefiting that much because the health shield you get from home sweet home is not massive. You have to close gap, walk in aggressively to channel out that ultimate. Very easy for picks like Medusa to just DPS trace you. Very easy for guys like Khepri to see that slow-moving circular fire on the ground and say, hey, that's going to kill my ally. Let me Scarab's Blessing it. But the strengths of the Baba Yaga lie in the fact that she could go for unorthodox styles of build and get them online very quickly. I'm talking like double stack if you so choose. Generally, we don't see that right now from Baba Yaga just because of the relative strength of the flat pen style of build. And also, she's got like really, really annoying poke. When you talk about annoying poke in the mid lane, it's either they've got more range or, in Baba Yaga's case, I just don't know what shape she's going to throw at me.
Not only what shape is she going to throw, what kind of damage is going to come from this potion. We'll see what kind of damage the FUNHAVERS mid laner can do here in game number 2. J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug to bring game number 2 of this set. FUNHAVERS are one game away from walking their way into the SCC. The Jazzy Jaguars are going to be the gatekeepers here in this second game to try and hold them back. And it's going to be off the back of this Agni once again by Panda Turtle. He did 47,000 damage last game in a 46-minute game, and even on the losing end, still topping out those charts. Expect nothing less than similar performance out of him here in Game 2.
Yeah, this time around, it's a lot of front line around him. Dishonored, Short Fuse, and Blugan. Going to be able to protect this Agni a little bit more so the dive potential, the FUNHAVERS, going to have to work harder to close that gap, and I'd argue is overall weaker, the dive that is, for the FUNHAVERS. You don't have the hi-rez to close gap. He's not a traditional warrior. Instead, you've got the E-set, who's going to be a little bit more so playing that ranged pokes, ranged CC, peel style of support. Magic Feet going to be very squishy on this Bastet. Does a ton of damage, don't get it twisted. She'll one-shot in the late game, especially if he goes for that Transcendence build that we've seen from him in the past. But it really is just Uzzy playing that traditional diver for the FUNHAVERS. So maybe Panda Turtle allowed to flourish more so in Game 2.
Still going to be annoying to have to deal with a Bastet, though, especially with the range of that Huntress of Bass ultimate that she does throw out there. But with the quick reaction times we've seen out of Panda Turtle, a quick dash should be able to get him a decent enough distance away here. Early pressure in the dual lane does go towards Zen and Oceans. The Cryptis kind of clearing autos that she can throw out with that first ability. Makes it real nice and easy for him and Oceans to clear that one out. Magic Feet and Uzzy again sticking together here for this first totem spawn. That's about the point in game 1 where we did see them separate, was that totem into the Harpy. It'll be just the same here. So now Magic Feet can finally go back and clear out the remainder of their jungle that's just now coming back up.
Yeah, I wonder, that's such an efficient pathing for the jungler. If this is the start and it doesn't hurt your mid laner too much, and so far it doesn't seem to be hurting him because Joshy's a level up on Panda Turtle, that might just be better.
Short Fuses here. Blink in. Does find the stun against Ocean. Spirit Ball. Not enough to save the support's life. Tuba is the one who comes up first here. First blood goes the way of the Jaguars Hunter.
All right, so now that I've said that I thought it might just be better, I'm starting to see the strengths of the other jungle start. There's literally 0% chance Magic Feet ever gets to that duo lane fight. So, again, mid-pressure and duo pressure should go to the team that doesn't have to have their jungler over in the soul lane. And this time, that's the Jazzy Jaguars striking first for first blood. But Magic Feet has not yet left this lane. Still on the right-hand side of the map, steals away those back camps, and hovering nearby, first blue buff might just go the way of the FUNHAVERS on the Jazzy Jaguars side of the map.
Could be a nice and easy steal here. I mean, as I said, Magic Feet never left the right side of the jungle. Didn't pop themselves into the mid lane. Just went straight from his back Harpy camps to the Jaguars' back Harpy camps. Zen will use that Whirlpool form to get back out. But Oceans isn't too far behind, even despite that first death going their way. And even with that first kill going over to Tuba, it's the Jaguars duo lane who are technically still behind XP-wise a little bit.
Not so bad at this point. Oceans even maintains the shell, so next team fight, not going to be so one-sided. The Jazzy Jaguars can't feel overconfident in their ability to step up in the 2v2. I believe in my Zen probably has a slight experience lead over Tuba because he doesn't split the last wave with his support, whereas Tuba does. Oceans, though, is a little bit behind, probably about an entire half level, maybe like a 3/4 of a level, like 4/5. Who knows, man? Do you know?
I don't know, actually.
I don't know
I mean,
either.
maybe if we pull up their portraits,
I don't want to do that.
You know what?
I like to guess.
That's a fair point. We'll leave it up to the fates to determine exactly what that percentage difference is here in this duo lane. Another Spirit Ball over the wall does seal that Harpy away, and maybe that will lower that fraction value that Oceans was behind.
I think it will. It quite literally will. It only can. You know, you got some farm for yourself. As of now, neither team really able to do too much on the map. No ultimates available. Panda Turtle has got his, and that's going to give him an advantage in mid. I like to say level 5 to 15 is Agni's real go button before some of these other mages start to match up some of that scaling. We get to check in with these builds. Panda Turtle has not yet gone back to base, whereas Joshy has finished up that Divine Ruin very early on. I'm sure the FUNHAVERS would love to fight right now.
It is level 5s across the board. Action into the mid lane. Short Fuse gets picked up by the cat, dropped inside the damage. And Joshy, with that home sweet home, will strike first for the FUNHAVERS. Magic Feet in a little bit of danger here, but so is Panda Turtle. Joshy smacks him with the wild magic right afterwards, picks up a double kill for himself in that mid lane. And Blugan can do nothing but run. Didn't even have the opportunity to throw out that Scare's Blessing. I don't think he expected his mid laner to die that easily.
Major fumble there from the Jazzy Jaguars mid laner. Panda has got a lot of time playing this Agni, has not made a lot of mistakes, but that is one. Dashes in aggressively, trying to chase out Magic Feet, knowing that the leap was down, misses the bomb, misses the stun, doesn't even detonate the Noxious Fumes, and Magic Feet, who is on the retreat, says, oh, word? He used all that? Let me turn around and start to take that fight. And that's a fight that the FUNHAVERS have weighted in their favor just because Joshi had gone back to base.
Tuba has to use Petrify to get away. Circle protection dropped by Oceans. We'll put some nice chip damage onto this Medusa. Once again, Tuba on the receiving end of all of the aggression of the FUNHAVERS. A dive under the tier 1 tower by Oceans. Magic Feet will block the lacerate, jump on top of Tuba's head, and the shell by Oceans. Make sure that he doesn't go down to that tower. 3 kills now up for the FUNHAVERS.
That is a quick turnaround. The Jazzy Jaguars were up to such a nice start with that initial pick in the dual lane off that rotation from Short Fuse, but now the FUNHAVERS have completely turned this game on its head. 1,000 gold, not massive. 1,000 gold at the 5-minute mark. That's indicative of a larger issue. You got to start stemming that bleeding soon. 2K, sure, that's fine. You start to get to that 3K mark, that's when the Jazzy Jaguars really need to be concerned. But the concern maybe not so much around the gold right now. I didn't realize the experience was so heavily in favor of the FUNHAVERS already.
2K XP, 1,200 gold. Magic Feet does beat out the stun by Short Fuse. Magic Feet will eat quite a few bombs and some damage, enough to get out though. A good little jump by Magic Feet puts him back to safety. Ocean shows up to stop this fight in its tracks, while Joshua will rotate himself back up in the mid lane. Level 9 on this Baba Yaga. Ultimate is up in case it's needed. Oceans will pop a silence in place, thinking that maybe Bluegun was going aggressive, but it will not be so. Instead, support for the FUNHAVERS will walk out.
And they get to at least establish control around these mid camps again. Jazzy Jaguars hovering nearby, kind of looking like they want to go for the pick, not going to split out the camps, and rightfully so. Ocean's incredibly low.
Uses the circle of protection, maybe a little bit too early. Home sweet home. Does manage to knock Bluegun away to keep Oceans out, and now Panda Turtle is being run at by the fire through. Revive is good, but Joshy's got the potion right afterwards and puts a 3rd kill up for the mid. Maybe a 4th one here. Oceans walks back in, gets the silence for the shield. Not enough to keep him alive this time, but now with Uzi rotating back in, give Joshi another double to get this game going, and maybe even a triple kill. Bluegun makes it to the tower, but it's Magic Feet who brings him down.
Dude, Oceans is such a freak, bro. This guy is so weird, man. He just walks back up, narrowly escapes death again for like the 4th time so far on this set alone, and says, all right, what am I at? 20 HP, checks his watch. It seems like it's time to go back in. Steps back up, nearly survives with the Dispel Magic. It was almost the sickest calculated bait I've ever seen in my life. Luckily, Short Fuse will not allow that man to keep getting away with it. Was able to turn around that engagement, but yet again, we find ourselves in the exact same position as Game 1, and nearly the exact same KD. I believe it was 8-2 at the 8-minute mark, favoring the FUNHAVERS in Game 1. Now 7-2 at the 7-minute mark, so we've got some time to catch back up, but the gold, the experience, all favoring the Order side team, and this time they've got much better confirmation for objectives. They can leverage this lead much more easily, so long as Oceans can maintain his ultimate and get to those neutral objectives.
And maybe with a even worse experience deficit on the side of Jazzy Jaguars here. 3 levels separating the mid laners off the back of 2 double kills that Joshua was able to pick up in these fights. We were wondering maybe how this Baba Yaga was going to fare throughout the early game, and so far, it has been paying off in dividends for Joshi here.
It has been. I was concerned about the Baba Yaga's ability to deal with this Agni's level of poke in the lane, but it hasn't come down to that. Oceans has split minimally with Joshi in mid. Joshi's been getting the majority of mid camp, so that neutral farm all going his way. Joshi now 2 levels up, 4-0, so you're not even worried about that scaling because he's just going to have more power than Panda Turtle for the near future, the foreseeable future from here on out. I think the FUNHAVERS really do. They just need to find one pick, or maybe not even a pick. Find the time and the space to walk to this Gold Fury and force a fight.
The bullying 2, Electric Boogaloo up against Tuba. This time they will not aggress into the tower. They will spare his life for now, that being the FUNHAVERS.
Oh my
Joshi
God.
eats a beads, gets some decent shell protection back there with the help of his support, and Short Fuse is on the short path back to the fountain. He's going to have to run as far as possible. Bomb in, and Panda Turtle even expends the dash. And my Zen is fine, Short Fuse is fine. They will walk right next to each other, and it's only Bluegun going down so far in this fight. but Short Fuse has been spotted out. Can Magic Feet find him? The answer is no.
No, but can the FUNHAVERS go back towards this objective? Oceans has kept his ultimate, so his team taking less damage. The Gold Fury are not going to be able to survive too much of this burst. It was popped pretty early, but just used for the mitigation. Nobody nearby, and with Uzzy acting as goaltender, there was no response from the JAZZY JACKUARS. This is the largest early game deficit we've seen so far in this set, and with a Pyromancer just now spawning, gotta think the FUNHAVERS are going to have the opportunity to work their way over towards that very shortly. I'm sure, though, they'll head back to base first. Gold in pocket is not gold in the lead. You need to convert it into an item first, and then to do so, must go back to base. JAZZY JACKUARS, wary of that fact, aware of it, rather, are going to go over towards the Pyromancer themselves.
This isn't going to be free, especially with Joshi standing by. 2 full items on this Baba Yaga, and a 5-0 start to his name. Magic Feet 3-0-3 on this Bastet. And Oceans will say, hey, Jackwires, thanks for starting up that Pyromancer, getting it down to half health. We'll go ahead and take that one for ourselves. A little risky there, even with Blugan throwing that root over the wall. But the FUNHAVERS take yet another objective and further push that gold lead as we start tipping closer to the 5,000 gold lead.
Man, I am suffering from the wildest sense of deja vu. Game 1, Pyromancer went to the FUNHAVERS first last time, and it was an early Pyromancer with a ward on it beforehand as well, and the support tried to steal, unsuccessful both times.
Zen does get picked up, but does manage to make it into that Whirlpool form. No one here on the tail end to help out. He's going to have to pot them all for that extra bit of mobility. Shield, good, nice little silence from Oceans. We'll give the extra protection over to Zen, but most importantly, stop that ultimate from coming out from Short Fuse. We saw the wind-up ready to go, but perfect timing out of Oceans.
Panda Turtle has got the rotation path in. Oh my god. Yeah, go back to your tower.
Gross.
Think about what you've done. That is a lot of damage already. Tier 2 book for Joshi plus double flat pen, I suppose, will do that for you. But without leap, can he survive this?
We will have the home sweet home, so that's some extra shielding coming his way. Dishonored, just as quickly as they wanted to start that fight, will now walk themselves right back out as some of that fire deals some big damage. I thought Panda Turtle was going to walk into the tail end of that L there, but Oceans in the middle of 3 yet again. Where else would Oceans be but there? Short Fuse will have the ultimate jumped over by Magic Feet as Oceans finds Suba. Uzzy finds Short Fuse, but Ascaris Bussy will get him out for only an extra moment. This time, Uzzy will officially take out Short Fuse.
Yeah, Blugan says, oh, well, I timed my ultimate right at least. Sorry I couldn't get you further away. And now the FUNHAVERS 4 stacked on the left side of the map. They're starting their siege early. This is an expedited pace to this game. 12.5 minutes in. 4 stack, Tier 1 tower will go down. Tier 2 tower could potentially follow. They've got a couple of archers to work with. If Uzzy wants to tank up for just a moment, it's just Blugan in range to defend. Tuba just now respawned. Going to take a little while for him to slither on over back towards this lane. Yeah, this is massive. What a huge gold swing and experience.
Tier 2 tower. That's 1,500 gold plus the 500 from the Tier 1. This pushes up the FUNHAVERS to a near 7,000 gold and nearly 8,000 XP lead to their name. Fury's going to be down for at least a couple more minutes, so there's at least that safety net for the Jaguars, is they can't go for another objective at least for a couple of minutes here. Maybe that's all the time that the Jaguars need to buy just so they can get themselves ready for this next fight. But we're looking at builds. It's the same case as game number 1 was, Mifflin, where the mid laner for FUNHAVERS has an entire item up over Panda Turtle. Soul Reaver just picked up by Joshi on that back to base. An
early Soul Reaver at that. That burst damage did not need help, by the way. 550 with the first ability on a Panda Turtle. Now probably doing upwards of 7, maybe 800 damage against Panda Turtle. 2 abilities is all it's going to take for Joshi to take him out. We've got some time to get an XP roundup while these objectives start to respawn. It is a pretty large deficit in every single role favoring the FUNHAVERS, barring the solo lane. Uzzy, he's a dude who just does not like sitting in lane, doesn't want to rest around. I mean, just the wet noodle fight of the solo lane does not appeal to him, so instead he rotates out consistently at every portion of the game, affording his team advantages around the team fight, but sacrificing himself. Where the rest of his team has 2, maybe 3 levels up, Uzzy resting comfortably at 1 level down.
Panda Turtle hit by the Spirit Ball, hit by the Silence right after, but not a whole lot of damage going that way. And Oceans, maybe in a rare light here, actually doesn't end up going for Alono's Mask's 2nd item. Doesn't go for Alono's Mask's 3rd item. Instead, it's a Heart Ward and building in towards a Magi's Cloak in Oceans' early build, so we're seeing a little bit of differentiation here out of this support.
Yeah, I think Oceans is so far ahead already. Like, he's level 11. You're like only one level down on the enemy jungler. Generally, supports are like 3 or so levels down by this portion of the game. That he doesn't necessarily need to go for the Lonos. The damage trade-off would be too high, considering the natural defenses he's afforded by levels at this point. So instead of going towards it, likely going to be the Magi's in that slot. The Oni Fury has rejoined the map, and the FUNHAVERS should be able to get control of the vision very shortly. I'm expecting a rotation from Uzzy, and as always, when the solo laner leaves the solo lane at this portion of the game, should tell you exactly what's on the mind of that team. Gold Fury should be the target of that aggression. And again, Circle Protection, likely still the best confirmation tool on the map. It would take 2 bombs from Panda Turtle to match that level of damage when it's fully charged up. JAZZY doesn't have really much that can match it either. So the FUNHAVERS should feel confident in their ability to go towards these objectives, to force out these fights, especially if they can force a 5-on-5 engagement. I'm sure they'd love that. That's more targets to kill. 10-2, I'm taking every engagement I can.
And this is the second time now that JAZZY has gone for a Shell as that second relic. It is Beats first and then Shell, so not opting to pick up an Aegis, just opting for some extra team defense here. But it's a teleport in by Uzzy. Oni Fury picked up by the side of the FUNHAVERS, but Dishonored is in the back line, and that's probably not where this Bologna wants to be. Slowed down by Uzzy, but a big bomb stun out of Panda Turtle. Buys some time, but a 4-man potion toss right into the back line. That'll push everybody away from JAZZY. Circle Protection dropped down, and that should be the full commeter for the FUNHAVERS, but it pops just a little bit early, but there's nobody on the JACKUARS who are going to step up after that.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the damage JAZZY did? I wouldn't step up either, man. He's just jumping to confirm like mid-camps at this point.
Uses the ultimate to immune out the CC. Now Blugan is caught in the midst and in the wings of the FUNHAVERS. He'll run as far as he can go, but that distance is not very long. Short Fuse trying to find Oceans in the back line, but a big stun will slow down Short Fuse. A rooted place, a Spirit Ball, and an Uzzy right after to clean up that kill. And it's now 12-2 for the FUNHAVERS, and they can still knock on the door of this tier 2 because Panda Turtle once again eats some massive damage out of JAZZY. Dishonored just cannot go anywhere. The CC chain is just too much, and the Eagles rally has to be used just so Dishonored can even move.
Another tier 2 tower, 10,000, 17 minutes into this game. FUNHAVERS are in complete control. This is what I was expecting to see from the start we got in game 1 for the FUNHAVERS. No fumbles this time, and aggression going their way a little bit more so. Had Short Fuse not got baited by Ocean's low HP bar, I don't think we're talking about a tier 2 tower siege. We're probably talking about the Pyromancer in that scenario, but instead, it's both. They took out a 2 for 0. They got the tier 2. They got the Pyromancer for the second time. Rule of 2s here. The FUNHAVERS massively ahead. I think they could just head back to base, spend that gold, go for fire, man.
And here's what Short Fuse has got to realize on low health for Oceans. Oceans had like 30%. That's not low for him. We saw what he did at like minute 5 of the game where he went back in with 100 health. That's low for Oceans here as far as HP is concerned. The Magi's Cloak does get picked up, finalized here. All objectives but the Fire Giant have now been taken off the map. And 18 minutes in, only 1 tower left standing for the JAZZY JACKUARS on that right side lane. And then it's just the Phoenixes for the FUNHAVERS, but they're taking their time to group themselves up here. Look over on the left-hand side. It looks like the FUNHAVERS are waiting for Tuba to step back up. But Tuba's experienced this song and dance all game 1. He's nowhere nearby, at least for now. He's not going to step that far up.
Oh, maybe. If I'm Tuba, I probably would have, because I'm not expecting anybody from the FUNHAVERS to be on this side of the map. That's probably the bet the FUNHAVERS are saying. They're like, yo, we're like, what, 11,000 gold up? It's like 18 minutes in. That's generally the time we start to see Fire Giants. He's probably expecting us to be on the Fire Giant, and we're hoping that they could find a pick beforehand. Instead, though, the FUNHAVERS seem unconcerned with the largest neutral objective on the map. They think to themselves, hey, we haven't needed the siege just yet. Well, why even leave it up to any form of risk? Let's look for some kills instead.
Oceans now with Magic Feet, where before Oceans was standing with Zen and towards that left side. But unconcerned about the Fire Giant to start things out. Instead, they'll do a 1-3-1 split. Magic Feet doing Magic Feet things, wants that speed buff, but will end up starting a fight because of it. Dishonored, CC chain slowed out, and will make it away.
Oh, God.
But clipped by JAZZY yet again. by that first ability. This time the Y thrown out there. And Dishonored is asking, why does this Baba Yaga hurt so much? And the answer is that Joshi is 4 full items deep in the build, not even 20 minutes in.
No, he has had unmitigated success in the middle lane so far, and every single relic still available to the FUNHAVERS. Seems like they're playing with their food a little bit here, though. Instead, stop pushing it around the plate, and let's start getting to the protein of it. Eat your vegetables, do the Fire Giant. Burning down quickly. Jazzy Jaguars, no response on the map. Only 3 on the right-hand side, the other 2 on the left.
By the time Blugan can even get there, if he even had a chance to get there, the steal is very minuscule chances of him grabbing that one. Fire Giant goes to the FUNHAVERS, and with only 3 members of the Jaguars grouped up on this right side, this tier 2 should go absolutely freely to the boys in blue. And now it's the question of, is the Phoenix going to be the next answer with all 5 of the FUNHAVERS grouped up? And only 4 on Jazzy Jaguars. They're going to know that Short Fuse isn't here. That's the call to go right back in. Circle of Protection thrown on the floor by Oceans to keep the team up, to keep the team healthy, to take that Phoenix down. Uzi a little bit in danger. A big Eagles rally in, but the cap brings Blugan into the back line. Short Fuse throws out the ultimate, and then a Scarab's Blessing to bring him back in, but Blugan is already gone, and Short Fuse is left on the backside of the fight. 3 now down, and make it 4. Tuba manages to make it back into the fountain just in time, but the 5 members strong of the FUNHAVERS are pushing up towards this Titan. But with just those bombs out of Panda Turtle, that's enough to dissuade them from moving in.
Ozzy's going to TP back in. I think they're going to walk in as soon as that happens. Here's the thing about how Oceans is level 16. So is Panda Turtle. That's the mid laner for the Jazzy Jaguars. Why? Take your time here. Blugan, 10 seconds on respawn, 20 on Short Fuse, 30 on Dishonored. But the mid Phoenix seems to be the call first.
Tuba does get rooted in place, and Panda Turtle wants nothing to do with the fight going on up ahead of him.
Really?
Mid lane Phoenix goes down, and the FUNHAVERS will continue to buy a little bit of extra time, playing it very safe here, even despite the fact that they're the ones up. 16,000 gold at this point.
Oh,
Experience, not almost 18,000. It's only going to get worse now. That Primal Fury is back up, so let's add a little bit more gold and XP to the pockets of the FUNHAVERS, as almost 4 players on this team have hit level 20. 3 of them now with that Fury. Zen able to set up there, and now you can see some of these starter items finished up.
Man, the FUNHAVERS are so far ahead right now. The map state is so much in their favor that I want to root against them. I feel like if anyone's cheering for the FUNHAVERS, it's like rooting for the villains. You know what I mean? Like, they are so favored. They've got so much control. I like an underdog story. But it's so hard to root for the Jazzy Jaguars because, like, I want to root for the team that's going to win. And the Jazzy Jaguars are so far behind. How are they going to fight back in? We're talking, like, just now picking up a tier 1 book for Panda Turtle. Whereas on the other end, Joshy's, like, already read that book. You know what I mean? Like, he's returned it to the library. He said, I'll take something else. Restored artifact. We're looking at the last item for him. He's upgrading his relics. My man's luxury shopping right now.
Panda Turtle's opening up the back of that book, and he sees Joshy's name already on there from the little tag at the library.
He already returned that one, man. We're not interested. I've already got all that data. The FUNHAVERS, they've got free reign of the map. It would take a miracle for the Jazzy Jaguars to stop this from happening. 1 minute left on the Fire Giant. Can you hold out for that long?
This is going to be the moment for the Jaguars to strike back. Panda Turtle level 17, and trying to fight against Joshy here. We'll put some OK poke up against this Baba Yaga. This Phoenix hasn't taken a whole lot of chip damage just yet, but now that Zen has gotten a moment to breathe on it, it will go down. Uzi in the back line, Dishonored, falling low already. Petrified does hit Zen, and Zen will have to sit a little bit further back in the fight, but Magic Feet is already doing damage to the back line. Short Fuse has to get the Scare's Blessing to make sure to keep himself alive. Titan pulled, but 3 make that 4 members of Jaguars running low, and a circle of protection drop through. That Titan not doing a whole lot of damage to the FUNHAVERS, and the FUNHAVERS doing a whole lot of damage right back to the Jaguars. Game number 2 will go the way of the FUNHAVERS, as does the set, and a congrats to them as they make it into the SCC.
Oh, man, the FUNHAVERS earned this one. Game 1, back and forth, to be sure. Game 2 was back. There was no fourth.
No, there wasn't any whatsoever. I thought maybe you were going to go a little bit further than there, but
what more is there to say?
It was a lot of gold up for the FUNHAVERS and a big win. Game number 2 goes their way, as does the set. We'll take a quick break and a brief pause, and then we'll come back to close out our day.
like you. So you thought that I'd learned by now, but it's a 4-year-old kid still talking. But were we still talking about that? I guess it's much easier for you. Why is it so much easier for you? What did you say? This is going great. I felt it, so I just fought it. I don't know what I've started. We fall in love. Yeah, some of it still feels amazing. I'm here and I'm caught up dreaming. Jaded, sorry, sorry, so you wanna. I guess it's much easier for you. Why is it so much easier for you? I guess it's much easier for you. Why is it so much easier for you? I guess it's much easier for you. Why is it so much easier for you? I guess it's much easier for you. Why is it so much easier for you?
Well, game number 1 of this final set was a very close back and forth tug of war between these two teams. And game of 2 was not so much.
No.
It was not very close, except for at the very beginning of the game when it was forced to be close just
when
by
it's dead
metric of
even.
everybody
Yeah.
spawned in at the same time with that same goal. But from minute number 1, the FUNHAVERS have just steamrolled through game 2.
Dude, imagine if real life operated under Smite rules. Like, we all just spawned in with the same amount of money. That'd be dope.
I guess depending on how much that money is would be pretty
Nah,
nice.
I don't, as long as it was equal.
As
you
long
know?
as
Radical equality.
So if you get 100 and that guy down the street gets 100, that's at least good because you both got 100, even if it's only 100.
Yeah.
Wow. With that here, FUNHAVERS, dominant game 2. Clinical, easy, GG easy, no re. I think that's what they're saying here at the end of game number 2. And all off the back of Joshy here in this mid lane. 5-0 to start in like the first 6 minutes of the game, if even that at this point. And we questioned how well this Baba Yaga was going to perform in the picks and bans. Question no more. He gave us the answer. That answer is really well.
Well, here's the thing, J-Mac. I'm still not a Baba Yaga believer. Hear me out. If you start a game 10 minutes in at 5-0, you're going to pop off on anything. I don't care what it is. You could be a Arachne ADC. You could be unreleased god here, redacted, mid. Like, it doesn't matter. You're going to pop off if you got that much of a gold lead. My man read a book and returned it before the other guy had one. So, still not a Baba Yaga believer. If anything, I'm a Joshy believer.
Joshy coming up big here. Uzzy making himself known across the board. Ends the game 3-0-6 on this RDO. Going back to it the second time in a row, 2 games now, they top picked this god on the FUNHAVERS. For Uzi putting that much trust in their solo laner that this pick was going to be what gets the wins for them. And alongside Magic Feet on this Bastet, Joshi on this Baba, and Oceans and Zen, the ESET Cryptus duo lane, they'll do it. They'll take a 2-0 victory. They'll go into the NASCC.
Congratulations.
The Jazzy Jackguars, they get nothing. Now they got to fight through the SOC.
If they want to. I mean,
If
they don't have to, man. We can't force them.
You're right, we can't force them, but
You said that real threatening.
if they do want a chance back in the SEC, they will have to try and at least fight through that one here. Well, let's take a look at the schedule, the bracket, to see what all's gone through, because we've had a very long 2 weeks of SEC qualifiers. All started back last week on the winner's side of the bracket, where now, as we saw just earlier on in this week, Vamp, Sturdy Arson, Samsara, and Sops Time all qualified just earlier on. And then today, we had a great gentleman sending Leoncitos home, and the FUNHAVERS now sending the Jazzy Jackguars home.
That's a lot of Smite that we casted.
That
man.
was a lot.
That is a lot. And that was just North America. That's wild. What was that, like 64 teams total?
No, it's 32 total. We had 16 each side.
Yeah, times 2.
No, 16 each one.
Uh-huh.
Then
16
times 2.
times
so it's
2.
32 total.
Times 2.
You don't do another times 2.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Now, if we're talking about number of games played in each of those ones, then yeah, we're over 64 because we did have some 2-1s thrown into the mix there. I mean, probably upwards of maybe about 70 games have played here through all there. But that's about the closest to the quick math you're going to get me to do here, Mifflin.
I wouldn't ask for more, man. You've done just well enough, as have all the SEC representatives that we now get to represent through Europe and North America. Hopefully, you fans at home, at least one of your favorite teams made it in.
Well, hopefully so. But with that being said, we are now done with the SEC qualifiers. We'll see these teams back in a couple of weeks playing in the official SEC league to kind of run themselves out here. But Mifflin, we have the SPL coming back up.
Who
That
cares?
starts this Friday. And we've got a nice little video to show you guys to really show that off.
This is the beginning of the end for you.
The sky!
Bestowed upon you the power of the sun. A mighty sword! Strike while the iron's hot. For Camelot! For Avalon! Let the heavens rain!